Good morning. My name is Frank Mastoris. I'm the practitioner of the day in service for this service. Today's meditation is going to be a contemplative meditation. We'll be reflecting on the Aramaic translation of the Lord's Prayer. So allow yourself to settle down into your body. Take a deep breath in and release. Take a second deep breath in and release. Take a third deep breath in and release at your own pace. Allow yourself to settle into your own body and move to the place within your body where you are most comfortable. Hopefully, that's also the place where you find God within. And as you settle in, allow your mind to open, allow your heart to open, allow your inner and outer ears to open, and be present to the words. O thou from whom the breath of life comes, who fills all realms of sound, light, and vibration. May your light be experienced in my utmost holiness. Your heavenly domain approaches. Let your will come true in the universe, just as on earth. Give us wisdom for our daily need. Detach the fetters of faults that bind us, like we let go of the guilt of others. Let us not be lost in superficial things, but let us be freed from that which keeps us off from our true purpose. From you comes the all-working will, the lively strength to act, the song that beautifies all and renews itself from age to age. Sealed in trust, faith, and truth. I'm going to read this again for your contemplation. O thou, from whom the breath of life comes, who fills all realms of sound, light, and vibration. May your light be experienced in my utmost holiness. Your heavenly domain approaches. Let your will come true in the universe, just as on earth. Give us wisdom for our daily need. Detach the fetters of faults that bind us. Like we let go of the guilt of others. Let us not be lost in superficial things, but let us be freed from that which keeps us off from our true purpose. From you comes the all-working will, the lively strength to act, the song that beautifies all and renews itself from age to age. Sealed in truth, faith, and trust. Now allow yourself just to be with these words. In the sanctuary of your own heart, or in the sanctuary of your own body. Let us experience the breath of life. Let us experience the realms of sound, light, and vibration. Let us experience our utmost holiness. Your will of goodness is done in the universe and on the earth. We express the wisdom to fulfill our daily needs. We are free from all thoughts of lack, limitation, guilt, shame. We are free. We are free from all disease, disorder, disharmony. we are in complete union with the truth of our true purpose. For we are free to do the will of our choice, to live the life of our dreams, to have the strength to act on the desire of our hearts. Each of us is that beautiful expression of the Most High. Just as we are now. These words are sealed in our mind, in our heart, in our soul, in our body, sealed in trust and faith and love and truth. And so it is. Amen.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth. And who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth. And who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth. And who we are and all we do is a blessing to the world. We are the voice of spirit on earth. And who we are and all we do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth. And who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the voice, the spirit on earth. And who we are and all we do is a blessing to the world. Blessing. I am the heart, I am the hand, I am the voice of spirit on earth. And who I am and all I do is a blessing to the world. I am the heart, I'm a blessing to the world. I am the hands. Oh, you are the heart, you are the heart, you are the hands, you are the heart and hands. You are the heart, you are the heart, you are the hands, we are a blessing, 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 blessing to the world.
God morning. Can you hear me? God morning and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore's virtual service. I am Tracy Rhymes, your host. Our speaker is our spiritual director, Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. Our musician is Deletta Gillespie. Serving as today's practitioner who led the pre-service meditation is Frank Mestoris. Assisting, making this service open, inviting, and accessible to the deaf community are our sign language interpreters, Dedra Wilcher and Sonya Chavis. On behalf of Reverend Dr. Ray, thank you for your service. At CSLGB, every Sunday is an invite a friend or family member Sunday. Make sure you spread the love and invite someone to service. We would love to have them hang out with us. Frank was raised Catholic. As he grew, he was more determined to find an experience of the divine or God. He felt this overriding desire to find God. Frank began to explore his own spirituality using prayer, meditation, the Bible, and the Rosary as a means of exploring his spirituality. He had this experience of feeling overwhelmingly connected to God and love. Though he did not realize it, he felt as if he was love itself. Frank has been involved with religious science since 1992. He traveled as part of his job and was able to see multiple versions of religious science churches throughout the country. He has been a practitioner for 8 years. He has felt this call for over 40 years to live and share a life of oneness with and as the divine expression of all of life. Frank's spiritual work is to always call others to their deeper awareness of the divine within, throughout, and about their lives. Frank's spiritual work is to call all to the deep awareness of God as themselves.
Good morning again. For our opening prayer, let's first acknowledge one thing, that essence that we call God. There is one power, one presence, one essence, one life. It is everywhere present, in, through, and about everything. Everything that we see around us and everything we do not see around us is part and parcel of that expression. Be it our own body, the chair we sit in, the atoms that make up our body, the molecules, the quarks that are even smaller than that. Everything is made up and surrounded by God. I know that even the stars themselves are made up of God, that very substance, that very essence, the carbon, the zinc, the silicon, it's all God. And multiple expressions, God expressing, God living out his life through and as each of us. Everything is interconnected. Everything is interconnected in the divine flow of energy that surrounds, that is our body, that is within our body, that surrounds the earth, that surrounds the planets, that surrounds the universe, that surrounds the very life of everything is God itself. In this moment, as we move forward in this service, we are all part and parcel of that light, of that joy, of that vibration, of that sound, of that star stuff. And today, as Reverend Raymont speaks his word, the truth of that star stuff manifests in your mind and in your heart so that there is no place where God is not. this place where the divine expresses fully, completely, easily, and effortlessly. I know that in this service, everything is done in divine perfection. Our music is perfect. Reverend Raymont's talk is perfect. Our community is perfect. Each and every one of us interconnected, perfectly, holy, complete, divine, healthy, loving, joyful. And I release this to the law of God, which is the essence of God itself, knowing it's done in mind, it is done in form, and so it is.
The Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore's community, honors the world's religions. One tree, many branches. One mountain, many paths. One world, many religions and spiritual traditions. With the lighting of these candles on the first Sunday of each month, we not only honor each person on their select path, but we also bless them and recognize the light, the love, and the life-affirming nature of spirit as it shows itself in each path, in each practice, and in each person.
Time for announcements. Come hang out, study, and grow with the Wednesday night Science of Mind and Spirit Study Group facilitated by Reverend Dr. Ray. The Thursday night study group facilitated by practitioner Sue Monahan. Sign up for the CSLGB newsletter, the CSLGB Facebook and Instagram pages. Visit CSL Greater Baltimore and get more news and information, including what Reverend Dr. Ray is teaching in the larger CSL community. Friendly reminder nudge. You can share the CSLGB service link on your Facebook page. Go ahead and do that right now. It's not too late. In honor of International Day of Peace, Center for Spiritual Living Greater Baltimore is hosting a World Peace Party, and you are invited to participate. Woo-hoo! On Saturday, September 17th, noon to 7 p.m., with a rain date of September the 24th. This will take place at Ruscombe Mansion Community Health Center in Baltimore, Maryland. We'll have food and artisan vendors, energy healers, and light workers, talks and demonstrations on meditation, yoga, health, and eroticism, children's activities, live music, and so much more. Vending, patronage, and sponsorship opportunities start at $50. For more information, contact Dana Cole or Nancy Rosenberg. Let's party for world peace! CSL Summer Movie Series has 11 movie lovers, speakers, and teachers who will present their interpretation of the spiritual message within a film they choose. Come with questions and curiosity. It will be a fun, insightful time for those who love movies and for those who want to understand a deeper spirituality alive in cinema. Proceeds benefit CSL's Camp Cedar Ridge. If you have fundraising ideas and want to share or be on the fundraising committee, email Rainica Parametla. The CSLGB Building Committee is seeking assistance in a variety of ways to locate the right next home for CSLGB. For more information on how you can assist, email Dana Molden, Committee Chair, dana.molden@gmail.com. At CSLGB, every Sunday is a great day to choose this as your spiritual community, your spiritual family. The first step is to take the discovery class, which is offered online and can be taken at any time. Visit the website to learn more and enroll in the discovery class. To receive an empowering daily text and voicemail from Reverend Dr. Ray, and I hope I did say empowering, type JOIN to 833-663-9021 to begin receiving your daily inspiration. You will be glad you did. Prayer works. Let me hear you. Prayer works. Yes, it does. We, as a community, continue to treat and move our feet, knowing the truth for everyone around the planet. Prayer requests can be sent at any time via email to info@cslgreaterbaltimore.org. Deletta Gillespie is a multidisciplinary teaching and performing artist, playwright, singer, songwriter, and recording artist. Her stage debut came in her mother's nightclub act at age 6, and she's been on and around the stage ever since. Her roles back and off stage include writer, director, stage manager, and production assistant. While earning an MFA in theater arts at Towson University, Deletta discovered a passion for creating performance and programs that inspire and evoke courageous conversations on challenging issues. There is so much more Deletta is doing. Check out her website, DelettaGillespie.com.
Good morning, everyone. You think you own whatever land you land on. The earth is just a dead thing you can claim. But I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. You think the only people who are people who look and think like you. But if you walk the footsteps of a stranger, you'll learn things you never knew. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon, or asked the grinning bobcat why he grinned? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountains? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Come run the hidden pine trails of the forest. Come taste the sun-sweet berries of the earth. Come roll when all the riches all around you, and for once never wonder what they're worth. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. The heron and the otter are my friends. And we are all connected to each other in a circle, in a hoop that never ends. Have you ever heard the wolf cry to the blue corn moon? Or let the eagle tell you where he's been? Can you sing with all the voices of the mountain? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? Can you paint with all the colors of the wind? How high does the sycamore grow? If you cut it down, then you'll never know. And you'll never hear the wolf cry to the blue corn moon. For whether we are white or copper skinned, we need to sing with all the voices of the mountains. We need to paint with all the colors of the wind. You can own the earth and still all you'll own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind.
That was beautiful, Deletta. Thank you. Frank returns to lead us in a spiritual practice.
Much of our music and literature speaks of the oneness of life. So much of spiritual principle is expressed in much of what comes out in the way of movies, much of what comes out in the way of music. The song Deletta just shared was also one of the versions of a Disney movie which shared about the oneness of man with nature and the oneness with all of life. In the 1990s, there was a show that I really loved. It was a sci-fi picture called Babylon 5. And in the series, 3 alien races plus humanity were trying to learn to live in harmony together as one. Despite the cultural differences, despite the many problems, the many issues. And the captain of the station happened to be human, and one of the women there was the ambassador from one of the alien races. And she had one statement that I wish you would listen to and hear. Then I'll tell you a great secret, Captain, perhaps the greatest of all time. The molecules of your body are the same molecules that make up this station and the nebula outside that burn inside the stars themselves. We are star stuff. We are the universe made manifest, trying to figure itself out. And as we have both learned, sometimes the universe requires a change of perspective. Just allow yourself to feel your deep connection to the entire planet and the universe. Sit with that in your off time. and be one with all of life. And so it is.
Thank you, Frank. And so it is. Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson is an ordained Centers for Spiritual Living minister serving the Center for Spiritual Living Greater Baltimore community as our spiritual director. As a lifelong learner with a passion for self-development, personal transformation, transmutation, and transfiguration, he has frequently been referred to as a Renaissance man and visionary New Thought leader who makes complex metaphysical concepts readily understandable and applicable. Take a breath. His mission is to live, move, and be an active member of society who serves to educate, elucidate, and emancipate people and communities to awaken and empower themselves. ACTIVE is an acronym that stands for authentic, compassionate, transparent, inspired, vibrant, empowered. And he continues to live his bliss as a teacher, minister, author, workshop and seminar facilitator, visual artist, ASL interpreter, and ASL performing artist, mentor, father, grandfather, and more. I give you Reverend Dr. Ray.
You know, there are days when you recognize just how silly Tracy can be, and that you should hear her now. Whoop, whoop. And then there are days when, anyhow, so thank you, Tracy. I'm beyond words. So today, yes, we are continuing our conversation about this idea of being in relationship. And if you have been present and paying attention to any of the music, the pre-service meditation, the in-service spiritual practice, like if you've been paying attention to any of this, then you caught the theme of what it means to be in relationship with nature itself. So today, that's specifically what we are recognizing and talking about, that there is this aspect of nature that includes the rocks, soil, plants, all of the waters, rivers, lakes, streams, all of the animals, all of the elements on the periodic chart, like all of it. All of it, all of nature is God in expression. And that if we see nature as something being out there, separate from, then we begin to treat it differently. We don't see it as sacred. We don't treat it as sacred. And how we treat it on a deeper level is how we understand, respect, or disrespect and treat ourselves. So today we are diving into what it means to be in an intimate relationship with all of creation, to dive deeper consciously in a more loving, divine, and empowered manner. Breathe. Ready? So what would you say, Tracy? She said yes. So where is God? You know, if someone, you know, were to ask you, where is God? Well, one of the things that you may have caught that Frank said There is nowhere that God is not. So where is God? Everywhere. There's this phrase, this passage from the Bible that says, be still. Be still. Stop rummaging. Stop fidgeting. Just be still. And know that I am God. And what does that have to do with specifically this idea of nature? Well, the transcendentalist, their connection to God was through the great outdoors. So for them, God, G-O-D, was the great outdoors. All of nature was the temple, the church, the mosque, all of nature, that there was nowhere in the forest, the mountains, there was nowhere that was not holy ground. One of the transcendentalists, or a person who was, involved in the transcendentalist movement, Frank Lloyd Wright, which you may have known this guy from his architecture, said, I believe in God, only I spell it Nature. I spell God nature. That's one reason why his architecture is deeply, like if you look at it, you can see the natural influence, the way he built it in and around and through, and nature was a part. It's not just, there's a building in the middle of the city, there's a building. It's like, here's a building that is being birthed out of this mountainside where the water runs through it. Like all of it was intimately interconnected. He didn't see it as something separate. And yet, how many of us, not only do we see it as separate, we see ourselves as separate. Breathe. Because in the book, Pray and Prosper, we are invited to recognize that all of our memories of the past will be healed. Pause on that. Take that in. Doesn't say some of our memories. All of our memories of the past will be healed if our communion with nature and with the Spirit becomes complete. Now, think about this for a second. Healed if communion with nature and with Spirit becomes complete. So let's think about this for a second, because normally when we think of communion, we think in terms of only one general idea, which is fine. However, this idea, the expansiveness of this idea, which we find in Luke, and he took the bread, gave thanks, and broke it, and gave it to them and said, this is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. But what if we also have the opportunity to say, this is my body, and I do this to remember my divinity, to remember that I am that which Spirit is. This is the blood of, this is the life flow, this is the energy of the divine, of the universe, and I do this to reconnect, to remember, to come back to oneness of myself as the infinite power and presence of all that is. That communion need not be something we go to a specific building to receive, but that communion with and as Spirit itself is ever present wherever we are, right here and right now. Because everything that exists is a manifestation of the divine mind. Say it again. Everything that exists, everything that exists is a manifestation of the divine mind. The seen, the unseen, the yet to be seen, all of it. The infinite void from which all things come, all things that have come from it, and all things that return to it, all of it is a manifestation of the divine mind. It is merely expressed by the form. This divine mind expresses in form. The manifest universe, then, is the body of God. The manifest universe, then, is the body of God. This desk, this webcam, the body of God. This timer that Tracy demands that I use to keep me on track. The cell phone, the body of God. If it is manifest, the stars manifest, the desert manifest, the beach manifest, the cloak manifest, the body of God. If it's the body of God and I use it as my remembering communion, this is my body. Do this in remembrance. Do this to remember that you and I are one, that there is only one. Do this to remember, to reconnect, to be whole. Breathe. Anybody know Japanese? Shinrin yoku. What's it mean? Tracy, what's it mean? I'm not even listening to you right now. Forest bathing. And know this doesn't mean going out into the woods with a pot of water and some soap and scrubbing yourself in front of the bears. Yogi don't care about none of that. So no, it's not about that. It's about going into nature and simply being in the cathedral of the divine and feeling the energy wash over you, feeling the energy heal you. And that's it. It is simply being present, being in communion, in communication, in community with the divine, in nature. Now, the Japanese folks remind you that if you are a beginner to this practice, when you do this, leave all electronics, leave it behind. You don't need to check your email while you are forest bathing. Remember that it's not a hike, because there's a goal. Like, I'm hiking 10 miles. It's a mission. Forest bathing is simply to be present. If you go with somebody, so how was your weekend? Yeah, so I went to Florida last week and you came back with COVID. See, I'd had no intention on bringing souvenirs back, but hey, somehow it got in the suitcase. It's not a conversation. It's about being present with the divine, being present with the divine, being present as the divine. And that's it. Now, we may say, but okay, I got that, but so what? Like, what are the benefits? Well, there are many benefits to being present. Your creativity is sparked, stress is reduced, anxiety is reduced, concentration and memory are increased and improved. Your heart rate becomes calm, peaceful, and lower. All of these benefits simply from being present, not just being present to trees and grass and shrubs, but being present to the divine, with the divine, as the divine, being in ecstatic connection with the oneness that is the truth of your being. That's what provides this, which is precisely why you don't really need, like, you may not live near a forest. You may not live near a state park where you can have be readily accessible to the trees and the mountains and the rivers. Not everybody has a cabin in the woods like Sue. And you don't have to, because everyone has some form of connection to nature. Sunlight, starlight, moonlight. Simply opening your window and feeling the breeze. Even if it's on that day, what was it, yesterday, Tracy, where it was 98,000 degrees outside, and that hot whoosh of air rushes in and burns the 12 o'clock shadow off my face. Even that air, that's nature. Watching the rabbits hop across the lawn or the bees buzz from tree to tree. How are you able to connect? Gardening, barefoot in the grass, finding ways to connect to nature. Breathe. The central principle of religious science is this immanence of God. All phenomena appearing in the natural world are manifestations of the spiritual world, which is the world of causation. All phenomena has back of it some spiritual connection, nothing just simply out of, like there's spirit is all there is. So there's something back of it. So the moment we recognize it, the moment we can connect with it, the moment we are present, then we are connecting to that which is back of it, which ultimately, God, the universe, source, spirit. Now, that does not mean that we are looking at cause as in to say, so what is the cause of that forest fire? That must be God. Or what is the cause of Ray having COVID? That must be God. I'm not talking about cause and effect in terms of that, because that's right. That could lead us down that road of what's it called? Spiritual bypass, metaphysical malpractice. So we're not talking about that. It's a different conversation. We are talking about back of everything. There's one cause, and that's God, spirit, source, because there cannot be a physical cause and a spiritual cause, because then that means there are two separate powers. There's only one. So we are called to be in recognition of this one power and one presence. Breathe. So there are many religious books, many sacred texts the world over. And many people, for lack of a better word, argue about whose book is the right book, which text is the truth. Why? Because ultimately, if we recognize and we understand that the language of nature connects us all. See, the moment we go into this other thing, then we fight, we argue, we go to war. But if we recognize that the task that we face today is to understand the language of nature, then we recognize that that language is spoken in all of these books. No matter where they were written, who wrote them, etc., the language of nature shows up in them. Why? Because ultimately the language of God, the language of the universe, is beyond individual letters and characters, because the individual letters and characters on the parchment and the paper broken down are the very molecules and atoms that are nature itself. So we read the words and we see the spaces between the words, and we recognize the language of eternity is in all of these books. It is these books. It is the pages of the books, the very fibers of the paper. It's all of it. So our invitation is to recognize the language of nature, and not just trees and stars and sky, but the nature of love, the nature of friendship, the nature of community, the nature of family. Because when we go to the very nature of, we can't help but to find spirit, find God. Yes, breathe. Reverend Ray says, if we believe God is only found in a building, now that building could be a church, a mosque, doesn't matter what the building is, or a certain book, like we just said. If we believe God is only found there and not found in the mountains or the forests or the beaches, the stars, the animal kingdom, the earth, and all of life itself, then we will never find God in or as one another or in or as ourselves. That which God is will continue to elude us and escape us simply because we believe it to be a limited and smaller power and smaller presence and limited presence than it truly is. Because we are trying to quantify it to a particular book. We are trying to quantify it to a particular building, rather than it's all of it and more. And so for as long as we try to shrink it, it will forever elude us. But the moment we let go of that and recognize that it's everything and everywhere, then we realize then that includes right where we are sitting. Wherever we are, God is. Wherever we go, God is going all the time. As Carl Sagan said, the cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff. We are a way for the universe to know itself. Check that out. We are a way for creation to know itself, to see its own beauty. Breathe. Simply stand in the amazing grandeur of that. You are a way for the universe to recognize its own voice, its own imagination, its own creative possibilities. As Neil deGrasse Tyson says, we are all connected to each other biologically, to the earth chemically, to the rest of the universe atomically. We cannot get around that connection. We are connected, whether you want to be or not. We are connected to everything and everyone, always, always have been, we are right now, and forever will be, biologically, chemically, atomically, and what we talk about in our teaching, spiritually, always. Every man is a divinity in disguise, a god playing the fool, according to Emerson, transcendentalist. Now, the playing the fool part, because I know some of y'all got the hairs on the back of your neck standing up. The idea is the person who does not recognize, does not know, they're fumbling around thinking that they are simply a sinner. They are thinking that they are worthless, that they do not deserve. That's what he is referring to. That you are royalty, but you think you're a pauper. You are powerful, yet you believe that you are weak. Every single human being is divinity. Are we ready to accept it? Are we ready to live that? As Ram Dass says, treat everyone that you meet like God in drag. In other words, God with a disguise, per se. God behind the face of, God behind the behavior of, and yet nonetheless, still God. Still God. Still God. Yep, them too. Still God. Yep, yes, yep, all, yep, everybody. Say, yeah, them too. Yes, right? Them to all of them. Everyone, everything, God. What is that? What does that move within us to change, to recognize, to realize? Neil also goes on to say, we are part of this universe. We are in this universe. But perhaps more important than both of these facts is that the universe is in us. We are part of God. We are in this thing called God. But perhaps more important than both of those facts is that God is in us. And not just in us, but God is showing up as us because God is all there is. We are all connected. As above, we are all connected. So below. Doesn't matter where it is. Connection is still there. Beneath the earth, on the earth, above the earth, around the earth itself. All connected. See, you don't see gravity, right? You don't see it, but you see the effect of it, which means gravity is connected, or you are connected to the earth. You are connected by this gravitational field. You don't see it, but you feel the effect of it. You don't see air, but you're connected to it, connected by it. We're always connected, as above, so below. Everything in the universe is within you, around you, above you, below you, beside you. Ask all from yourself, not from your egoic self alone, but from your higher self, your truer self, your most authentic self. Ask of yourself. As Ernest Holmes said, the only God you're truly going to know, recognize, and have an intimate connection with is the one that you embody. Because for as long as you keep looking for it somewhere, I can't find, But the moment you embody and recognize that wherever you are, God is, wherever you go, God is, whoever you are talking to, God is, whoever you are sitting with, God is. Everything, everyone, everywhere. Then it changes the energy of how you live, move, and have your beingness. Reverend Ray goes on to say, simply the ways and the depth of how we communicate, collaborate, and cooperate with nature is precisely how and to what depths we communicate, collaborate, and cooperate with and as spirit. Pause and take that in. How do we communicate, collaborate, and co-op? How do we communicate with nature? How do we collaborate with nature? How do we cooperate with nature? Because that is an indicating fact of how we are communicating with and as spirit, collaborating with and as spirit, cooperating with and as spirit. Because nothing happens separate from. So we are always given this great opportunity to see, to witness the evidence, the fruits of our labors. What we have sown, well, what are you harvesting? What is being reaped? What do you have to show for it? There's always karma, cause and effect. Look at the effect and you'll find, well, what's birthing this? What is the mental equivalent that is bringing this into fruition? How are we communicating with nature? How am I communicating with other people? How am I collaborating with other people? How am I cooperating with other people? It's an indicator of how I communicate, collaborate, and cooperate with God, both in, through, and as myself, in, through, and as other. It's all one and the same. I can't claim to be connected with the God of my own understanding and then be mad at Tracy and fuss and cuss about her and not see her as God. I can feel the anger about her behavior. I can see something that happened on the news and be angry about someone's behavior. But if I refuse to still see that individual as God, even with the behavior, the toxic behavior, They're still God. But if I refuse to see that, then I am denying myself the ability to communicate, to collaborate, and to cooperate with spirit in, through, and as my own life. Once again, because I am trying to quantify and relegate God, relegate nature to a particular group of people, a single behavior, one paragraph in a book, etc., rather than it's all of it, it's everywhere, all the time. Breathe. This week's practice. 1, ask yourself, in what ways do I commune with God? In what ways do I communicate as God? In what ways do I engage and embody community with and as God? Journal about it, meditate about it, contemplate it. Number 2, what am I being invited to practice in order to strengthen this relationship that I have with God, as God, and to God as all else? What am I being invited to practice to strengthen that relationship? 3, have a conversation with 3 people about your greatest challenge connecting with God as the great outdoors. Tracy don't like dirt. Tracy don't like mud. Tracy don't like the rain. Tracy don't like bugs. Tracy, have a ooh, breathe, Ray, breathe. I'm just seeing Tracy. I'm gonna show y'all a picture one of these days. It's Tracy hiding from a bee and she's doing this. It's hilarious. Anyhow, have a conversation. Breathe. Have a conversation with 3 people about your greatest challenge, connecting with God as the great outdoors, meaning nature. Are you someone who really doesn't like being outdoors? You don't like, I could care less about the stars, and I'm a city boy. Like I'm in the city, street lights and the honking the horns, and I hear you. But is there something that you are denying yourself that you don't even realize you're denying yourself by only being in the concrete jungle? And then what does this quote mean to you? God sleeps in the rock, dreams in the plant, stirs in the animal, and awakens in man. Breathe. This week's affirmation declaration, I will say it first. And if you, sorry, I forgot. There's one more. Go find this link. And once again, always, if you want copies of the PowerPoint, just email Tracy and we'll make sure you get it. I want you to go to this article in Maryland Today and read this article about forest bathing as a method of relieving stress. And if you're available, join in the Thursday night discussion and talk about what did this article say to you. And now, our affirmation declaration. I will say it first, and if you feel in alignment with it, say it with me on the second go round. Where I am, God is. Where I go, God is. Simple as that. Where I am, God is. Where I go, God is. And breathe. Breathe as we avail our hearts and our minds, our very beingness, for a divine incarnation of God, presenting this magical, mystical, musical gift that elevates our hearts, enlivens our minds, brings joy to the body. Our beloved Deletta. Yes, thank you. Much love and appreciation.
If you loved yourself, you would do no harm, no harm. If you loved yourself, you would do no harm, no harm. If you loved yourself, you would do no harm to anyone else, anyone else. If you loved yourself, you would do no harm, no harm. If you loved yourself, you would do no harm, no harm. If you loved yourself, you would do no harm to anything else, anything else. When you love yourself, you can love all others and see yourself in all. You'd recognize that all are an expression of the one. So free yourself of judgment and stay open to love's call. Change your mind, and you'll do no harm. Speak no wrong, and then you do no harm. Open your heart, and you do no harm to anyone else, to anything else. Oh, 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 oh. When you love yourself, you can love all others and see yourself in all. You recognize that all are an expression of the one. So free yourself of judgment and stay open to love's call. If you love yourself, you do no harm. If you loved yourself, you do no harm. If you loved yourself, you do no harm to anyone else, to anything else, to yourself or anything else. Mm-hmm.
So I hope y'all heard that. If you loved yourself, you would do no harm. Yeah, pause. Now, I mean, like for real, like that right there is because we harm ourselves when we judge ourselves or others, when we criticize ourselves or others. We harm ourselves in a number of ways. So really think about what Deletta just shared. Like that's a whole sermon right there in the few bars of that song. If we loved ourselves, we would do no harm. No harm. So today, let's take the invitation and say, well, what's the exact opposite of that? Because I love myself, then I will do what is mine to do to heal, to self-care, to live an authentic, empowered, transparent life. I have no need to judge, condemn, or criticize myself or anyone else. Breathe. Ooh, thank you, Deletta. Yes, I'm gonna be meditating on that one today. So at this time of service, we are anchored and grounded in the law of prosperity and circulation, recognizing that the manner in which we show up as community is what builds, what nurtures, what fosters this community. And so in this practice of tithing and donating and sharing of our time, talents, treasures, etc., we are sowing the seeds into what we know that this beloved community is already in the mind of God and is becoming in this realm of physical manifestation. Now, if you ever have questions on what is the actual vision for this community, maybe you're new, then reach out to myself or one of the board of trustees or one of the practitioners of distinction and ask, well, what is this vision of being a 24-hour spiritual facility? What does that mean? What does it mean to, receive spiritual mind treatment at any time of day? What does it mean that there is an active library? What does it mean that there is an active youth ministry, a theater ministry, etc.? What does it mean? And how does it foster a world that works for all? Reach out and ask, because the more we engage in this conversation, the more we are building the energy that creates it. The more we are raising the vibration that manifests it. Now, one of the ways we are manifesting, one of the ways we are raising that vibration is the Practitioners of Distinction, our Prac Corps, has pledged $50,000, which is on top of their regular pledge, regular monthly tithes. And as of July 15th, that number is $17,635. The community has also made a matching pledge of $50,000 on top of their regularly scheduled monthly tithes. And as of the end of June, that number is $2,800. Now, as I said before, if you're new, you may not know, well, how do I tithe? How do I donate? How do I offer, financially to support both the spiritual aspect where I am spiritually fed and also the business aspect of this being a 501c3? How do I do that, Reverend Ray? You have 4 options. 1, PayPal. 2, Givelify. 3, text messaging. 4, the postal mail service. If you ever have questions about these or anything related to them, reach out to our treasurer, Sue Monahan. If you ever have questions about, well, what if I wanted to divide a certain portion of my tithe? Once again, just reach out to Sue. If you want more general information, visit our website, cslgreaterbaltimore.com/give. Breathe. Here at CSL Greater Baltimore, when we declare financial wealth and abundance, we are declaring wealth and abundance in all areas and all aspects of our lives. In other words, we are declaring health and well-being physically, emotionally, in our relationships, in our finances, in our spiritual practices. Like, we are declaring this wealth and abundance and prosperity and opulence of the divine showing itself in all areas of our lives. So if that feels in alignment with you, then let's declare this together. I joyfully, consciously, and gratefully participate in the law of circulation. I trust in the spiritual principle that says, as I sow into my beloved community, I demonstrate my awareness of standing not only in the flow, but as the flow itself. As I sow of myself, my time, my treasure, my talent, I demonstrate my support and engagement in my community's vision, mission, and purpose. I actively give as a demonstration of manifesting, of reaping the harvest of a world that works for all. Breathe. Thank you. Thank you for being your awesome and amazing, divine, beautiful self. Thank you for bringing that presence and that power here to CSL Greater Baltimore today. Thank you for how you show up in the world as a divine catalyst for evolutionary change, compassion, and all of that good stuff in the world. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, in case you didn't know this, when this thing here, right here, this thing is done, you can go over to the Zoom room, which you can find on the website. Just scroll down a little, you'll see the link. And you can join us over in Zoom for fellowship and laughter and conversation and all that good stuff, but you can also join us for prayer. You can have Frank pray with you, to pray knowing your divine truth, goodness, wholeness, and all that great stuff by typing the word prayer in the chat box, and then Tracy will make sure she puts you in a breakout room with him. You don't have to wait for something to be going in order to get prayer. Things can be going great, and you want that to continue. You want more great at a 10. Well, can I get it to be a 20? Right? So prayer is always good, not just when it's quote unquote needed. Follow what I'm saying? Cool. So we breathe and recognize this divine power and presence right here, right now. Avunde bashmaya nitkadish shamuchtete malkutach. Nechwe tibianach ikaneth di bashmaya af ba'archa. Havlan lachma da sunkenan yaumana washboklan. Haubein wachtehein ikanadaf chanan. Schwachen al hayabein. Wela tachlen lenesuna elepatzan menbisha. Mitu de lache malkuta. Wachela watishbukta. La alam almin. Amen. We breathe, recognizing the infinite is all there is. It is right where you are, right where I am, forever and ever. And it is forever and ever acting upon itself, the infinite nature, the infinite love, the infinite spirit, always closer than this very breath, closer than these words, closer than these thoughts. I am that I am. And what is true for me is true for you as well. I am that. And now we go out in the world and we demonstrate this awareness, knowing that that which it is, I am. Breathe. The law says yes. It is answered prayer. And so it is. Namaste, blessings, much love. See you in Zoom.